All right, so my name is Johnny, and I'm the director of NeuroSky's developer program. I don't know if you've heard of NeuroSky, but it would be good for me to give you a summary of what we do. We are a company focused on biosensors and brainwave reading and understanding the human better. We have a technology where you wear a headset, and from a single sensor, we can read your brainwaves. This was utilized in toys such as the Mindflex by Mattel, as well as the Nekomimi robotic cat ears. So, in summary, what we do is we translate biosignals. We take the inner workings of your mind and turn it into digital data that can be utilized by your different programs. I think it would be good for me to explain things that we cannot do. So, we cannot read somebody's mind. We can't write onto your mind. We won't be able to predict the future, and it's not a direct replacement for buttons. None of these things quite yet. We're still working on this.
Unless you make a game that's entirely blink controlled, because that works really well in my opinion.
It's possible. We could actually make a game that's completely blink controlled. It might trigger epilepsy in the person. But actually, there's a good reason too to make a game that's blink controlled. This is a little bit of a tangent. But you could create something where somebody that's handicapped, they could use blinks to do yes and no and simple commands. But here are things that we can do. So we can add an element of intrigue and deeper understanding of you as a person into your game or application. We can monitor the body's biorhythms and use that as a health and wellness aspect to your application. And we can involve the player in new types and new kinds of interactivity. You can think of the input that our controllers provide as a layer on top of the traditional kinds of controls. So here's a good example of one of the successful products that we have put together. We had worked with Mattel, and this had been a best-selling Christmas product for 3 Christmases. And had gone on to make a sequel called the Mindflex Duel, where 2 people would face off against each other, and whoever had more mind mojo would be able to win. Shortly after the release of the original Mindflex, it was hacked, and a YouTube video was put together to show off the hacked version of the Mindflex. So in this hacked version, if you weren't able to maintain your level of focus, you would get electrocuted. It's a great video. You should look it up on YouTube.
I think electrically shocked. Electrocuted is when you're actually killed by it.
Okay, electrically shocked. But some of these people practically were electrocuted. So our technology, we encourage hacking on it. We encourage the openness of taking our technology and utilizing it in exciting and different ways. And a great example is the Orbit. This project on Kickstarter wound up making $80,000. It's a mind-controlled helicopter. It takes the existing headsets that we have and interfaces it through iOS and Android devices to control an actual helicopter. So it's gone on to great success on top of the Kickstarter money that it made. I believe it's selling really well in Europe. So with the headset, there's some very specific data that you can receive. You can receive information about a user's raw waves. That is the same thing that a neuroscientist is looking at when they try to understand what's going on inside of somebody's mind. And so from that raw brainwave signal, that information can be parsed into specific brainwave bands. Those bands are delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma. You might have heard of them, but you probably don't know what they quite mean. Existing neuroscience has charted them into a number of different emotional states. But to make it easier for development, we've created 2 algorithms that are focused on how focused somebody is and how calm and relaxed somebody is. And so those are your attention and meditation meters, and we've made it very easy to utilize them in your application. We also have eye blinks, which can analyze and understand if you're blinking your eyes like this. And last, we have a signal status, which lets us know inside of the application if you're properly wearing your headset. So to cover this again, attention and meditation is a value from 0 to 100. If you're in the middle, that means you're neutral. If you're on the higher side towards 100, you have a high level of attention. And if you're on the lower end, you have a low level of attention. That also applies for meditation. So the different ways people use attention and meditation, what we found is that there's voluntary controls and involuntary controls. Voluntary is a great example where somebody has, like say the mind flex, and they're trying to focus in on a single idea. And then the ball will float higher based on how focused you are on that one idea. Involuntary, the Nekomimi toy, is a project that was put together where these robotic cat ears would move based on how you feel. You weren't necessarily trying to make them wiggle, but if somebody, interesting came by and then the ears shot up, then the ears are saying something. So it's that involuntary response that I think is exciting about that Nekomimi toy. And that toy will be part of some of the prizes that we're giving out this weekend. So I want to go directly into the Game Maker. So how many of you utilize Game Maker? No, I remember. So previously at the Computer Science Club, I gave a presentation about the Node.js, which is a way to connect to our socket server. This time I can do a presentation on Game Maker Studio and cover at least part of what it takes to implement our technology with Game Maker.
Oh, one question, how many people here use Unity? Okay, we also have a couple Unity people.
Okay, it seems like maybe 3 times the amount of Game Maker. Any other programming languages or other, anything else? Okay, so inside of Game Maker, when we use our socket server, there's essentially 3 ways, or 3 steps that need to be done in order to connect to our headset. You need to open up the socket and then handshake with the socket server by providing an app name and an app key. And then you set up Game Maker to properly receive the JSON data feed. So in step 1, there's the socket, which is a local host, 127.0.0.1, a specific port that receives the brainwave information, 13854, and the protocol is TCP/IP. So if you're running Mac, the Thinker connector is running in the background, it would show up as an hourglass when you start to initialize your connection. So inside of Game Maker, it's fairly easy. You basically create an object, and inside of that object, you have the create event, and then you add the following action, execute a piece of code. And then that piece of code that you're executing is simply this. That's all you need to do in order to do that first initial connection. Oh, and I'm going to have this entire presentation available online, so you can just copy from it directly. So that, whether it's inside of this object connect that you create or it's somewhere else, but basically you take this event and piece of code and have that run at the very beginning of your application, inside of your first row. But for example, if you have a splash screen, you can add this object into that splash screen to set up the connection. So then inside of step 2, you need to set up the handshake between the socket server application and Game Maker. So the socket server is expecting 2 pieces of data, the app name and the app key. And so what I found was the best way to do it for Game Maker was to create a small data file. And inside of that file, I set up the app name and an app key. The app key is just an arbitrary 40-digit number. You could utilize this one. You could change any one of those. The original design of that was designed to give every application a unique ID, but it's completely arbitrary for the hackathon. So you would add that to that data file to your required files inside of Game Maker, and then inside of the socket connection code, you would copy and paste this if. So you're loading this data file, and then you're sending that packet back to the socket. So essentially, that's what you're doing in order to do steps 1 and 2. So in a way, the last week has been kind of a little bit of a hackathon for myself because GameMaker is new to me. I primarily use Unity 3D, but I've had fun learning how to utilize GameMaker. It's just, especially in the last day, is where I've been hit with challenge number step 3. So how many of you are familiar with what JSON is? JSON? Okay, so not too many people know what JSON is. So in coding, JSON is a way to exchange information. It's really readable, and that's what makes it good for a variety of programming languages. So it takes the different brainwave information and it separates them into an array where you have attention, meditation, as well as the other commands that you need.
You could just show JSON.org. It's got a really nice illustration that shows it.
Yeah, JSON.org is a good way to explain what JSON is.
I'll just like draw it up.
Okay, sure.
Basically, you've got curly braces that denotes like an object, and you can have it's called a key value pair. So we have name colon Joe, right? And this is JSON format. It's super duper simple, and then you can even so this is now considered an object, just like a thing. But you could just wrap this in another set of curly braces, and this could be the value for another name value pair. So person. Just like that, you just like nest it. And that's how the NeuroSky information is delivered. So when it says like focus, it'll be like focus. That's some number between 0 and 100.
Yeah, that's a really good explanation. And actually, inside of the Computer Science Club presentation, this is an example of some of that JSON output, where it's saying, like, this is somebody that hasn't worn the headset yet, and saying that the headset force input level is at 200. And then when it's being properly worn, that data format is simply accessible through those nested variables. So inside of step 3, I have some of the resources around JSON inside of GameMaker. I'm hoping that, well, all of this code and this project file I'm going to make available at our website, developer.neurosky.com. And I'm hoping that before tomorrow I can provide a project file inside of GameMaker that will have everything up and running. But if we can't quite get there, at least here are some of the breadcrumbs to get to that point. So here's my contact information. I'm pretty excited about putting together this hackathon with both the art and CS departments. It should be a fun weekend. We've got a lot of great food planned. There's going to be some really good barbecue on Saturday evening. And we've got some great prizes as well. So any questions about either any of the things I presented or the upcoming hackathon?
They will only have the food be vegetarian.
Yes, there will be vegetarian.
For the blink algorithm, does it detect when your eyes are closed, or does it just...
Only at the moment of blink. So it's an analog output. It's looking at the muscle. So it's like blink, that counts as 1. It doesn't
So you can
register
detect it
like eyes closed.
What if the clothes are high?
Well, it's an analog from 0 to 255. So if you just blink one eye, it'll show up perhaps as a smaller value. But what I find best for the blink value is to, even though it is an analog, to just turn it into like a digital readout. Anything higher than this value is on, anything higher than that is on.
Think of it as like an event fire. It doesn't stay on while your eyes are closed.
If I just like completely suck at making games, will I, and like going to the hackathon, will I still be able to like participate and be useful in it?
Yeah, I mean, it's the game part. It's also just seeing what you can and can't make. It's you don't necessarily have to make a game. It can be an application. Like,
There's so many things around production and just supporting the team that would make you the most valuable member of the team, even though you're not doing any coding.
So two points I want to make about that. One, a hackathon is one of the best places to fail. You're surrounded by a bunch of people, a lot of whom know what they're doing, and you can get help from. It's a great way to try and just like get outside of your comfort zone and try and learn something new. Two, I used GameMaker when I was 7. You could probably make a game in an hour from not knowing it to making something simple. And you can even find, I think we've got videos of a GameMaker presentation you can look up on our website or our YouTube channel. That was my 2. I forget what my 3 was, and I don't have a 4. So I'm just going to keep choosing numbers until I remember what I was going to say.
oh, you could quickly go over some of the points you guys
7's a good number.
made before presentation about things to bring.
Oh yeah, I could also do that. Yes, you will be useful in some capacity, and if you can't find a group that wants you, you can make your own group, and I will guarantee you that you will figure out how to make something cool. Right, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a game. Just so you guys know, this hackathon is open to people making, apps or games of any kind. We're just sort of presenting it to the club in the context of, hey, this thing's cool. Let's see if we can make a game with it. So are you, you're not familiar with GameMaker? Have you written games and anything else? No? All right. Well, I can show you some simple stuff later if you want. I shouldn't stand up anymore because I don't have anything more to say.
So, any other questions? We'll do another presentation tomorrow before the hackathon that will be more of a design-driven presentation, since the last 2 presentations have been more code and system presentations.
If you need help making the GameMaker plugins too.
Oh, that would be really helpful. I can forward you what I have so far.
When is that meetup that you're talking about tomorrow?
Starts at 6. I believe we'll have food right at the beginning, and then it goes right into the presentation.
Is that here?
That's just flyer.
Sorry.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, so NeuroSky Hackathon, it's tomorrow. Go to the CS Club in Macquarie Hall. So that's Macquarie Hall 227.
Does anybody need the information?
So I have these handy dandy little slips of dead tree.
Oh, what's up?
Also, I don't know if you guys went over this already, but like, what should we bring to the hackathon?
Excellent. That was like my number 7 or something, I guess. Sorry. Okay, I've actually got a whole list of stuff. So before this, there was actually a brief hackathon boot camp we gave, just explained a hackathon. Oh yeah, I could use this. Okay. So, yeah, okay. So, I'll just explain briefly what a hackathon is before I go over this. So, for those of you who are not familiar with what a hackathon is, and I've been like just talking about a hackathon, you've been confused the entire time. A hackathon is kind of just a set time where a bunch of people get together and work on projects all at the same time, typically towards the same goal. And this particular one is what's known as a 24-hour hackathon. So you've got 24 hours, you stay up all night or take a couple naps to try and just get something neat done by the end of it. So in this case, it starts at 6 p.m. and ends at 6 p.m. the next day on Saturday. So that's a hackathon. We've had them before in the computer science department. We've had Barracuda come in and give us a challenge where you had to write an AI for a game. And sometimes Microsoft comes in and has hackathons for making apps. This one's a hackathon for the Think Gear Connector, NeuroSky,
EEG.
Mindwave mobile.
Mindwave.
Anyway, so this is some stuff that you might want to consider bringing. You don't necessarily need to bring it, but you're going to have a much better time if you seriously consider this stuff. First and foremost, a computer. We're not going to have computers there for people to use, unfortunately. It's not like this room where there are a bunch of computers. So please bring a computer of your own, preferably a laptop. If you're bringing a laptop, you're going to want its charger because 24 hours, I don't believe there's a laptop on the market that you could code on for that long. The Mindwave Mobile connects over Bluetooth. So if you don't have Bluetooth built in, if you're on like a MacBook, you've got Bluetooth, don't worry. But if you don't have Bluetooth, and you know this for a fact, you should check this. You should get a Bluetooth dongle. There might be a couple there, but if you can get your hands on one before, just from home or from a friend or something, that will guarantee that you can work with it. Else, you'll have to find someone else who's got a computer that does have Bluetooth. Since this device works with cell phones as well, so Android, iOS, Windows Phone? Does it work with Windows Phone?
It's possible for me.
Possible, but it's a hackathon, so it's a time to try new things. So, if you want to program a mobile app, bring your phone or your device that you want to try putting something onto. And that also means bring your phone's charger. Bring the cable that lets you connect your phone to your computer so you can put the code in. Again, this is only if you want to code for one of those devices. Okay, you might want a whiteboard marker. In the computer science department, we don't necessarily have the freshest whiteboard markers. In fact, we might not even have enough. If you want to be working on a whiteboard in any capacity, sketching out ideas, sharing some idea with someone else, please bring your own if you've got one. Very helpful. Also along the same line, pen and paper. If you want to be writing down ideas or brainstorming, pencil and paper, pen and paper is invaluable. A good sweater or a blanket can be really nice at about 4 a.m. Maybe you want to take a nap. Maybe you just want to have like a little coding nest. I brought a big fleece blanket to the Barracuda hackathon, and then at something like 4 in the morning when someone pulled the fire alarm, I was nice and comfortable outside. Some other people were not, and I was able to keep coding. So that's a nice thing to have. It makes the hackathon more fun if you're comfortable the whole time. Maybe you want a toothbrush. If you're going to be eating a lot of food there, your mouth might start to taste terrible after, say, 6 hours. So brushing your teeth might be nice. I think they said, NeuroSky said they could bring some AAA batteries, but the device runs on a AAA battery, so if you have an extra one, you're always going to be set. Maybe you want a flashlight. I don't know, maybe you'll drop something in a dark corner of the room and you won't be able to see. Or maybe you'll go outside and drop something. You don't necessarily need this, but I was in Boy Scouts for a while and we always brought flashlights everywhere. Want to writing utensils? Oh yeah, so you're going to want to group probably somewhere between 2 and 6 people. You can work solo, but it's a lot more fun if you've got a group of people who want to work on the same thing. You want multidiscipline, kind of like how we do in the Gamedev Club. So your app will look more gorgeous if you've got an artist. It will make people cry more if you've got a good storyteller. Oh yeah, and if you're super cool, you might want to bring like an extra monitor. If you've got like a small one. We've got people in the CS Club who like to program on their laptop and then an extra monitor just for spreading themselves out. And so there should be room there if you want to bring one of those, and maybe an extension cord for it to really make the space yours. Oh, yeah, and an extra shirt, maybe, if you've got room in your backpack. So if you spill food on yourself during the night, that can be annoying. And then maybe you win the competition, and then they take pictures of you. You've got like a big stain on your shirt. If you've got a spare shirt, you're set. You just switch it, right? This is also a way to make people love you if it's the middle of the night and everyone's starting to smell and you just put on like a fresh shirt and suddenly you smell less than everyone else. And moving on to that that topic of smelling, please shower beforehand. I really wish I didn't have to say this, but unfortunately I do, because this has been a problem in the past. Please, please shower beforehand, because 24-hour hackathon, if you're coding next to someone who hasn't showered, you're not going to have a great time. But this is just a quick list of stuff you might want to consider for the hackathon. Yes.
Power strip might be a good idea.
Oh, that's a good way to make people love you. Yes, if you bring a power strip, then you can have more stuff connected at the same time. I think there's probably enough power plugs in the school that you could always like swap off with your laptops, but if you've got a power strip and you've got room in your backpack, not a bad thing to bring. Anyone have any questions about hackathons or a suggestion for another thing that might be good for people to bring?
Should I bring myself over?
Your what? Your camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think
I'm sure if I could
we'd love to have some
record
pictures of
4 hours.
people working on neat projects. Probably want to check with people that they don't mind being photographed. Some people start to look really weird at 4 in the morning.
We'll record our entire
It's
process.
gonna be too much.
All right.
I gotta take my time.
So I think if no one has any other questions, nobody?
Anyone?
I have a question, John.
Yeah, what's up?
Will you be teaching us how to read the data in Unity later on?
Yeah, so I mean, during the hackathon, I'll be there until like as late as I can, and I'll do like different breakout sessions on some of the different other ways to utilize our technology.
I think there are also tutorials on using Unity with the device on their website.
Yes.
And Unity looks like one of the easiest ones to connect with. Also Flash. Flash is apparently really easy too.
Yeah.
If you want to work with that.
How many people still develop with Flash? All right.
1 people.
Cool. I'm really excited. We'll go over judging rules and the theme tomorrow, but hey, it'll be fun.
All right, so that's the end of the NeuroSky stuff. So we're going to start the second game challenge. And, you know, you could make a fighting game that uses brain control. It's an idea. And it doesn't have to be, you know, it could just be something you mod onto your game and describe later, but it'd be cool to add.